It's Saturday, August 31, 2019, and this is Globespan 24x7 Week in Review. My name is Shakima Day. We'll take a look at some of the major stories for the week beginning Monday, August 26 to Friday, August 30th, 2019. On Monday, the preliminary results for the opinion poll held by the Turkine Research and Polling Institute throughout the weekend has left more questions than answers. Kipani Jordan filed this report on Monday.
The Turkine Research and Polling Institute has been conducting a nationwide opinion poll over the last several days. The survey exercise has queried potential voters on their opinions on the current political situation and related developments, including popular support for aspiring presidential candidates, would-be challengers of President Granger, and other issues.
Dr. Maigu in his statement said the preliminary results show that PPPC presidential candidate Irfan Ali is an unpopular choice. Moreover, the poll found that a majority of persons expressed frustration at the political climate and preferred to have elections to be held at the earliest time possible. Also, a few persons expressed satisfaction at the work the government has been doing.
Now, in terms of the PPP's political support in the upcoming election, the party seems to have made a very unpopular decision, which may have some bearing on its electoral performance. A significant number of people are critical of the choice of Mr. Irfan Ali as its presidential candidate. Swing voters in particular appear to reject him unanimously. And what is notable is that Mr. Ali is rebuffed even by most PPP supporters who appear to prefer the former Attorney General Anil Nandalal, and to a lesser extent, Dr. Frank Anthony in some areas.
Dr. Maigu added, with regards to the upcoming elections, on whether elections were free and fair, a mere 19% believed it would, with a shocking 58% remaining undecided. But on the basis of guarding against any biases and the integrity of how the interviews were conducted, why Guyanese should believe the polls are accurate, and are the 12 to 14 surveyors credible without any political affiliation, Dr. Maigu just highlighted he is just a consultant to TRPI.
Made up the team, and also recently we've seen polls getting it really wrong.
Yeah.
Why should Guyanese public trust your poll?
Yeah. Well, I agree. Polls around the world have been very off, and you are right that it has to do with the answers as well, and the people's respondents to the poll. The point is that there's the other option is to not do a poll at all, right? I mean, so even if the poll and also in politics, because people change their mind, this happens as well. But the point is that there is a vacuum of data. We have no even attempt to provide national objective data.
For Globespan 24x7 News, I am Kipani Jordan.
In light of the recent gruesome murders of two women by their partners, Red Thread coordinator Karen D'Souza stressed that new and more meaningful measures must be put into place to address the ongoing scourge of violence facing Guyanese society. We'll tell you more in this report. Police woman hacked to death by husband. Essequibo woman stabbed to death by husband. Woman shot by estranged lover. Police woman hacked to death by lover. These are all familiar headlines carrying the same pattern of violence against women. Most recently, in a one-week span, two women from villages on the East Coast were brutally stabbed to death by their male partners. These closely related incidents have caught the attention of the Red Thread, a non-governmental organization primarily focused on the rights of women and children. Coordinator of the organization, Karen D'Souza, in an interview with Globespan 24x7, stressed that despite the many measures implemented to curb this issue, women still continue to face threats by men.
For many years, we've done public education in communities to talk about, being our neighbor's keeper, about the importance of taking violence and the threats of violence seriously. We've spoken repeatedly with young people about recognizing violence in their relationships, but it is still clearly not enough because women are still dying at the hands of those who are purportedly supposed to love them.
According to D'Souza, one of the main issues to be addressed is the rehabilitation program for perpetrators. She stated that these programs need to be a mandatory implementation for men who have been charged with abuse to reduce the window for reoccurrence.
The big gap that we have in the approaches so far is the education or the programs addressing perpetrators, and those have to be funded, they have to be resourced, and people have to be trained to run those programs. And Red Thread's position is that these are programs that should be attached to the courts so that it's mandatory that attendance at the program for 6 months, for a year, for 2 years is done.
Up to 70% of women face physical or sexual violence in their lifetime, according to recent United Nations statistics. Most violence takes place in intimate relationships. Women are encouraged to speak out with the hopes that it can potentially save a life. Reporting for Globespan 24x7 News, Shakima Day. On Tuesday, we reported that after several meetings to decide on a way forward regarding the current house-to-house registration exercise, the chairwoman of the Guyana Elections Commission, retired Justice Claudette Singh, has made a decision to end the ongoing registration and to move on to claims and objections period.
Following long hours of deliberations and many different views, the GCOM chair today decided to call the house-to-house registration exercise to an end and proceed with an extensive claims and objections period before extracting the preliminary list of electors.
The house-to-house registration will come to an end on the 31st of August. She will be issuing the order, which will vary the other order. That order will be issued by tomorrow to be gazetted, so the registration will come to an end on the 31st of August. No other decision has been taken. There were discussions as to whether they're going to use the data or not use the data, but she's playing that by ear to see how long use of the data will take, what is involved, and then she will take a decision.
What was
depending on
was the decision? Was the decision unanimous?
It was the chairman's decision.
It was the chairman's
There was no vote.
There was no
Opposition appointed GCOM Commissioner Bibi Shadiq. Meanwhile, government-appointed GCOM Commissioner Vincent Alexander said they are awaiting a timetable on when the compilation of the voters list will commence at their next meeting.
Well, I think what's important in the first instance is that the house-to-house information will not be discarded as was required by others, and that information will be integral to the process. In some regards, the process is unfolding. It's still a work in progress.
So you support this means as a method of cleansing the list?
It's not a matter of what I support, it's a matter of what decision the Commission has made. But, well, in effect, the Commission Chairman listened to all of the arguments, and as you know, the Commission Chairman in large respect is the balancing factor in GCOM. So what the Commission Chairman pronounces has to be seen as the decision of the Commission.
A statement released by GCOM said, the Commission has an obligation to produce a credible official list of electors in the first instance and ultimately credible elections. As such, GCOM said it will continue to further deliberate on other matters of importance for the holding of general and regional elections within the shortest possible time, and Secretariat will continue to implement a number of operations, in particular training of polling day staff and procurement of non-sensitive materials. Some 297,000 persons have been registered in the ongoing house-to-house registration exercise. For Globespan 24x7 News, I am Kippany Jordan.
A poultry farmer's battered body was discovered lying on the roadway at Riverton Berbice on Tuesday. More in this report. Dead is 49-year-old Nigel Matthews, called Tubby, of Lot 14 Springlands, Quarantine. According to information received, the man's body was discovered on Monday in front of an abandoned house in the nearby village. Pensioner Malcolm Hernandez, who shared a home with the now dead man, explained that he came home on Sunday and met Matthews imbibing. A few minutes later, he stated that he was going out for a bit but never returned home.
He said he going on the road. I said, no man, what you on the road? Why you going now? Come out, come. He said, no man, I'm coming back in the next half an hour. Right, so I go waiting on my cycle and the cycle come. I still just wait a little time. I left here a little after 10.
The man's roommate related that when he returned home and discovered that Matthews had not returned, he knew something was amiss.
And he's in, right? How we just left the door, right? Is that we just bolted from inside. So when anybody come, he or me come, if we sleeping inside, we call, right? So when I look at it, I say, no, this is unusual. And I sat down there, a chair was there, I sat down there, actually minutes to 2. And then I go and I lie down. Not 5 minutes after I lie down, his niece came calling. And she called me and told me she heard somebody call her. And she heard that somebody took him up and he's down at some shortcut in Rampur.
Upon hearing the news, he and the company of the man's brother ventured to the scene where they made the shocking discovery. The man was lying bloody and battered, clutching a piece of broken wood with a stab wound to his side.
Through the shortcut, so we go through the shortcut. I went like from here, from here to that blue drum. When I saw him, I turned to the brother. I said, my friend dead. That's what I said. I said, my friend dead. What's the man dead? So when he got hold and cold, they said, man, this man dead, lad.
Globespan 24x7 News understands that the man was seen at a gamble shop where he and another male got into an altercation because of money owed. Police have since arrested one suspect for questioning. Investigations are ongoing. For Globespan 24x7 News, Shakima Day. On Wednesday, following the decision to end the current house-to-house registration exercise on Saturday by the Guyana Elections Commission, politicians from both major political parties have voiced differing opinions on the matter. We'll find out more in this report.
After weeks of deliberations on GCOM's house-to-house registration exercise, the chairwoman, retired Justice Claudette Singh, has decided to end the process this Saturday, August 31, 2019. Attorney-at-law and former Attorney General Anil Nandlal has since voiced his opinion on the matter, stating that although GCOM has instructed that the process be halted, he is not entirely pleased.
I am not pleased with that decision at all. I am not impressed. I am not impressed. The house-to-house registration should have been immediately stopped. That's the first thing. And secondly, the second component of the decision is even more disturbing, in my view. It is that the data generated by this exercise will now be merged into the existing database.
Nandlal, an executive of the opposition People's Progressive Party Civic, PPPC, feels the move is in defiance of the CCJ ruling on the no-confidence motion passed in the Parliament. GCOM said that the data garnered during house-to-house registration will be merged with the existing National Register of Registrants, but Nandlal and his party is not pleased with that.
I object to this component of the decision for the following reasons. One, the data generated by this exercise is deeply flawed. It was unscrutinized by any political party other than the government party. Secondly, the form used to accumulate the data is the wrong statutory form. It is the wrong statutory form. Thirdly, the data accumulated will take approximately 3 or more months to be inputted and to be cross-referenced with the existing data, because that is the next step of the exercise.
In the meantime, political scientist Dr. David Hines said the unilateral decision taken by the GCOM chair to end the exercise has the potential to disenfranchise Guyanese who are eligible to vote but have not been registered. He was quoted in sections of the media saying, "I am puzzled by the abrupt termination of the house-to-house registration, as it could potentially disenfranchise those new voters who have not yet registered, end quote. Meanwhile, Director of Public Information under the Office of the Prime Minister, Imran Khan, sought to provide some clarifications on the decision by GCOM. He said that citizens may misinterpret the decision based on what he described as sensational media reports.
This is an acknowledgement by GCOM that one, it has to have a credible list of electors, and two, that it must preside over credible elections in Guyana whenever those elections are held, and that it must be done, the elections must be had within the shortest possible time. And there has hardly been any disagreement with regard to elections being held in Guyana within the shortest possible time. The difficulty has been over the issue of credibility. Some people seem, particularly the opposition, seem to want to have any elections as quickly as possible. And the government side, we've been saying, His Excellency President David Granger has been saying and insisting, rightfully so, that elections in Guyana must be credible. And we cannot have elections in a willy-nilly way that will allow persons to question those elections, whether legally or politically or otherwise, after they're held. So the issue of a credible list and the issue of credible elections are being taken very, very seriously by GCOM, as stated in their release today.
For Globespan 24x7 News, I am Samuel Suknandan.
Guyana Teachers Union President Mark Light said that they are all commitments in multi-year agreements, both past and present under the current administration and previous administration, that were not honored, and no new agreements will be made until that is done. Kipani Jordan has that report.
Clothing allowance is yet to be paid in September. Payments for teachers at special needs schools and bunching are among the commitments yet to be honored by government. This is according to Guyana Teachers Union President Mark Light in a phone interview with this newscast.
But we still have several things that we wanted the ministry to really honor those before we proceed with the new agreement. Having said that, we would have submitted the new proposal to the ministry, and we had one meeting, I think sometime in April or so, and ever since the union has asked that we do not proceed with the new discussion until we are satisfied that what was signed to in the old agreement is honored. So that's where we are with the new salary talks.
On the other hand, the President does not believe that the current status with the government will cause any hindrance with the negotiating of any wages.
The government still remains in office. I'm not advised that they are not in office, whether they have a caretaker status or not. So they still have the capacity to negotiate and enter into agreement. So our union don't see that as an issue with having a new agreement looked at. But our concern is going into a new agreement with several outstanding things in the last one. So that has been our concern, and it will be good if this government can put systems in place to give more confidence to the working class people that they are interested.
As per their first multi-year agreement, house lots were to be given to teachers with the initial request for housing schemes catered for at least 50 teachers was not granted. It was later agreed between the GTU and the government that teachers will be given priority for housing. For Globespan 24x7 News, I am Kipani Jordan.
In light of the recent petition filed in the High Court by the opposition seeking to have government resign and prevent cabinet from meeting, Member of Parliament Anil Nandlal says that the government could expect more court action due to their illegal status in office. We'll tell you more in that report. After successful passage of the December 21 no-confidence motion, it was expected by law that the coalition government resign from office. But 9 months later, and this still has not been done. Opposition MP Anil Nandlal filed a petition ordering government to resign and further seeking an order to prevent cabinet from meeting. The reason behind this move, Nandlal stated, is because Guyana is currently struggling against tyrannical rule and political dictatorship due to government's repeated refusal to resign. He mentioned that repeated approaches to court might bring about the needed change.
Approaching the court on a regular basis to enforce the rule of law, to enforce the Constitution that is being violated, must be a fundamental component of the struggle. So we have to continuously be going to the court in order to get the dictators, the authoritarians, and those who are violating the rules of law and the Constitution to comply.
The opposition MP further noted that despite the fact that the courts are giving their rulings, government fails to comply. He stressed that continuously going to the courts will send a message to the international world that the current government is not willing to comply with the laws.
It allows us to demonstrate and illustrate to the world that the government of the day is prepared to continue to trample upon the rule of law and the Constitution, and is prepared to continue in tyrannical rule and in unconstitutional governance despite rulings from a court.
The case is expected to be called on September 9 at the High Court. For Globespan 24x7 News, Shikima Day. PPPC frontman Bar Jagdeo announced that his party has plans to make university education free of charge if his party is re-elected government, although it was the same party that implemented that fees. General Secretary of the People's Progressive Party disclosed today at his weekly media briefing that as part of his party's vision for a better Guyana, university fees will become a thing of the past. While in government between 1999 to 2011, the PPPC through Jagdeo himself implemented fees on Guyanese students. It was dubbed user fees, and implementation meant to sustain the university. Jagdeo noted that if the party regains power within 5 years in office, students will no longer have to pay university fees.
Now we could have easily said free university from day one, but we're not happening. They promised free university, they increased the university fee by 35%. We're not going to do that. We make it clear that within the 5 years that we'll be able to do it. Whether it's year 2 or year 3, because we believe the way it's going now, we're looking at running the numbers that maybe probably in year 2 or 3 we can move into this policy. But that's why we're being cautious by saying within the 5 years. But once we promise it, it's going to be done.
Jagdeo also mentioned that plans are afoot to address the issue of persons who owe millions of dollars in outstanding university fees.
Help them too. So you will hear about those shortly. So we have a comprehensive approach here. But I don't want for a moment people to think that our focus is only confined to tertiary education, because it's also at the tech VOC level and at the different levels, the primary, secondary, nursery, primary, and secondary schools. They also have plans for improvement in those areas. The overall objective of the PPP government will be to have a world class, because we'll have a bit more resources from our revenue to pump into education, and to get a world-class education for all of our people.
Since its implementation, university fees have increased yearly, placing immense struggle on students in and around Guyana who wish to progress academically. For Globespan 24x7 News, Shikima Day. The People's National Congress Reform says that it is ready to head to polls even if GCOM says they are ready for elections tomorrow, and is confident that the APNU-AFC will win the next regional and general elections. Kipini Jordan filed this report.
Government Chief Whip Amna Ali, at a media presser, bashed opposition leader Bar Jagdeo in response to his contention that the official list of electors will be contaminated with duplicated names, when she said he needs to think before he makes certain statements.
That the Chief Justice, and no less a person, ruled that the house-to-house registration is legal and it is not unconstitutional. He must have forgotten that part. And so, how is it if you merge the information from a house-to-house registration to what exists as the NRR, you're going to have contamination? Is it that he is admitting that the NRR is corrupt? Is it that he is admitting that the NRR is no good? Well, I'm sure silently he is.
Ali expressed confidence in her party taking the polls by storm and coming out victorious.
First of all, let me say our track record in this for the 4 years is excellent. And that alone will take the coalition back to government. Because I'm sure you will agree with me that what you didn't enjoy in 23 years, you enjoyed it in 4 years. No discrimination, better roads, improved education, improved health, so many things. And so we know that that is going to take us back into government. And to crown it all, we have...
Commenting on the end of the house-to-house registration process, Ali said persons who have not been registered during the exercise will have a chance to do so in the claims and objections period. When asked of the party's manifesto, Ali told media operatives that it is a work in progress and will soon be presented. For Globespan 24x7 News, I am Kippany Jordan.
The newly formed Liberty and Justice Party plans to stamp out corruption, mainly at the government level. This declaration was made on Friday as the party officially launched its manifesto. We'll tell you more in that report. With the slogan Shaping Guyana's Future, the Liberty and Justice Party today launched its manifesto outlining plans to bring about a new change in Guyana. One of the main changes the party aims to make in Guyana is to tackle corruption, not just at the local level, but at the government level as well. Lennox Schumann, the LJP's presidential hopeful, stated that with the use of technology, they can address and eradicate corruption in Guyana.
We aim, for example, to stamp out institutional corruption. It has been a cancer that has eaten away at our society and the reason why we are in this position since independence. With the utilization of blockchain technology, for example, and making that part of our system in embracing technology in Guyana.
Schumann noted that agencies like the Special Organized Crime Unit, SOCU, and the State Asset Recovery Agency, SARA, which is rumored to be riddled with corruption, could be disbanded. In the party's position, a new and improved second tier of law enforcement will be launched to deal with crimes, specifically by high-ranking government officials who believe that they are outside the law.
We will seek partnership with key institutions external to Guyana. And this year would replace the mechanism that was developed under this administration, or maybe the previous, to investigate other crimes like SOCU and SARA, for example. What we can do is, I would say, eliminate those agencies that are so, in our view, corrupt, as we have seen in the culture news.
Among those plans, Schumann also highlighted plans to undertake a comprehensive legislative review if his party wins government. In 2010, the Anti-Corruption Resource Center published an article outlining corruption in the country. The article stated that in Guyana, economic hardship, institutional weaknesses, criminal justice inefficiencies, as well as racial fractures in society provide fertile grounds for corruption. Reporting for Globespan 24x7 News, Shakima Day. And that has brought us to the end of today's news. We wish you a safe and productive week ahead. Until next time, goodbye.